All right, I'm just going to say it. Some people are setting up their bug out bags completely wrong. And in fact, some of those wrong items are here on the table right here. But I'm going to show you the right way to think about your bug out bag and the essential gear that you need to have in order to get started with your prepping. Check this out. Hey, what's up, Warriors? It is Jeff from WarriorLife.com. And okay, before we get started, I have 3 warnings for you here, okay? So first of all, I just got done saying that people are doing things wrong about something. So that always brings out all the hate mail and the hate comments, and everybody starts getting all their tighty-whities all in a wad. Well, look, what's right for me might not be right for you. So it's all relative. It's all based upon your own assessment of what your threats are and what you think the best gear is for you. I'm going to give you my experience and my gear, what I put in my bag based upon my experience as a combat infantryman. I was in the 10th Mountain Division. We'd hump a ruck for 100 miles, 25 miles a day for like 4 days, all right? So I know what it's like to actually carry a backpack with you of the stuff that you actually have to use. Doing like long-range reconnaissance, you're out there on your own for an extended period of time with no resupply sometimes. So all I can say is that that is a big part of one of the reasons why I'm going to tell you what I think you should put inside of your bag. So that's warning number 1. Warning number 2 is, I know some people are going to say, like, what does being a combat veteran have to do with bugging out? And my answer is nothing and everything. So nothing, because it's not like you need to be out there wandering the wasteland like you're Mad Max in your Mad Max mobile, but some of the things that I've seen with my own eyes are what happens to people. And I'm talking about everyday Joes and Janes, that what happens to people when resources run low. I've seen a city in collapse. I've seen people looting. I've seen protests. I've seen riots. Like, I've been in those things. So I know what happens to everyday people during a time of crisis like that. So again, some of the things that I might describe to you or say that you should put in your bag are going to be seen as more extreme than what you might find from other people that are telling you what to put in your bug out bag for just a simple disaster that's out there. I get it. You don't have to play Mad Max either, but I'm just saying that some people will call me too tactical. Some people will call me not tactical enough. It's all your own opinion, right? The third warning I have is that the gear that I'm going to share with you might change. This is a moving target. You should always be assessing your gear. You should always be assessing your own threats that you're facing, as well as there's new stuff coming out all the time. That's better. You're going to see stuff that I'm going to put out here that maybe I've changed myself in the future. I'm not sure when you're watching this video. You might see what I put on here and have a better idea for something that'll cover that. Or there might be some new gizmo that comes out that does a better job of something. That's going to happen. If you see that, or if you think you have a better option, I want to know about it, because all I care about is protecting my family. So if you have a better option for me, you leave a comment down in the video, or you can go over to warriorlifetips.com, and if you change my mind on something, I will go ahead and take that. I will do a video. I'll give you full credit for it. I will share it with everybody, and we'll also send you a free gizmo in the mail just as a thank you for sharing your tip with us. All that being said, let's go ahead and get into the actual gear. Okay, so as we get started here, let me tell you there's a couple of areas that I'm not going to be covering, and that's going to be clothing and medical gear. Now, I keep my medical gear all inside of what I call a blowout pack. This is a pouch that I have that comes off of the pack. I can use this as a range bag. I can do all sorts of things with it. But I keep all my medical gear and things like that in here. The actual clothing is so detailed, and it's so critical, and so few people ever even really give it the attention that it deserves, that it requires its own video, and I will do a video specific to the clothing because people are screwing that all up, all right? That being said, the bag itself, I'm not going to go into too much detail other than I have an ultralight approach. Again, 10th Mountain Division, we walked everywhere. We walked everywhere, and so I understand that ounces become pounds the further that you walk. So I take an ultralight approach. In fact, we had a saying, travel light, freeze at night. And we did a lot of that because we wanted to carry as little as we possibly could. Now, that being said, there is a large bag here. So how big should a bag be when it comes to an ultralight approach? For me, I say that one, ultralight is all relative, because my regular bag filled with all of my gear in it complete is 32 pounds. My ultralight bag, or my ultralight inventory that I keep, is only 16 pounds. So I don't need a large bag for 16 pounds, but I want as big a bag as I can carry, since the bag itself really doesn't weigh that much. But I might want to put additional stuff in it. or I might find stuff along the way that I might want to have. It might be extra food that I find, or things like that that I can put inside of there. So I want as big a bag as I can. I also don't want it to be too tactical. So I'm not going to go all total gray man on you here, but I believe that there's a balance between tactical, kind of being tactical, but not looking tactical. So you don't need to look like you're going to defend against the zombie hordes and you're all decked out in tactical camouflage and everything. But you'll see that I do have a tactical bag, all right? So I like the organization opportunities that the bag gives, and I like to be able to take stuff off of it. There's lots of reasons for that. I'll kind of go through some of those before. But when you are looking for a bag, one of the things that I tell people you absolutely must have is a comfort system based in it. So you need to have padded arm straps, but most importantly is going to be a padded, extra wide waist strap. Because when you're carrying the weight, you don't want to carry it in your shoulders. So a lot of bags either don't have a waist strap at all, or they have just this nylon thin thing that digs into your skin as you're wearing the weight on your hips. You wear your weight on your hips. That's where you want it. That's your center of gravity. It takes all of the, most of the weight off of your shoulders, and it allows you to be more mobile as well. So make sure that you have an extra large waist strap on there as well. All right, so that's all I'm going to go into the bag right now. Now the rest of it, the gear really breaks down into just 5 main areas that you need to worry about. And that is shelter, water, food, utility, which is also some personal items in there, as well as security. So I'm going to cover each one of those 5 areas separately here with the essential gear that you should have inside of your bag. All right, first let's talk about shelter. If you look at a lot of people's pictures that they have of their bug out bags and the gear that they have, you're going to find that they have a sleeping bag in there, they have some sort of a tent in there for shelter, and they might have some kind of a mattress of some kind or a roll that they can sleep on top of, right? And this is going to keep you super warm and comfy and nice and shelter and rain and everything else, right? I can tell you that in 10th Mountain Division, we were an experimental division, and so we got gear before all the rest of the military got the gear so that we could see whether or not it worked or not. We got these high-speed, we got the first round of high-speed Gore-Tex tents and everything. We could cocoon inside of them. They were really high speed, and they were also really heavy. So all of this stuff, you do not want any of these things at all. We had a saying in the military, travel light, freeze at night. And there was good reason for that. All that stuff takes up too much space, and it just becomes too heavy over time. All you really need for your shelter out there is the same thing we ended up doing. After just a couple trips to the field, we ditched all of the tents and everything else. So all you really need is a good quality poncho. So this is a military issue poncho. It's a flat poncho out there. A couple of bungee cords. And you can use pieces of wood out there as tent stakes. But really all you need is, we didn't have titanium back then. So now these titanium stakes don't weigh anything, and they're super easy just to really get in the ground, especially in areas that are rocky and things like that. So the tent stakes work really well for that. And this is all you really need for your shelter. Now to sleep on, rather than a big old sleeping bag, I recommend the emergency bivvies that are Mylar. And I have a green one and I have an orange one. There's sometimes that you want to stay hidden. There's sometimes that you want to be found if it's a rescue operation of some kind. You've got an injury or something that you need help. This is going to help you. You can be able to spread this out, and that bright orange might be able to get overhead recognition from a helicopter or a plane or something. So I recommend these. Now I can tell you that I have used these. These are like emergency Mylar sleeping bag or blankets, but in a sleeping bag form. So this is going to keep you cold all the way sub-zero weather. So I've used this on camping trips with my kids with scouts, and I've had one last me up to about a week. Now each time you use it, like the Mylar kind of comes off, it kind of scrapes off the inside. So they aren't like a permanent use, but they're really inexpensive and they don't really weigh anything. And they're like super compact. So you can put those in there as well. Now for something else to sleep on, I believe in a good night's rest. I can tell you that the more rested you are, the better decisions you're going to make. The longer you're going to be able to travel, the faster you're going to get there. You're just going to be in better spirits, and you're going to be able to be better prepared actually. So I recommend that you actually be able to sleep on something comfortable if you can put it inside of your bag. Now you can use things like leaves. You grab a few of these 40-gallon contractor trash bags. They're like 3 mil trash bags. And you can stuff these with leaves and create your own mattress. You can do that. I recommend having a couple of them because you can use it as a waterproof drop cloth on the ground so you can stay off the dampness. But also these climate, I have the inertia zone from climate. These are basically with five good breaths into it, it creates a full length bedroll that is really comfortable. So for the size that it is and the little bit of weight that it is, I prefer to have this, but it's an extra add-on. It's up to you whether or not you want to do it. One thing I will recommend also though with the bivy is to have some sort of a moisture barrier inside of the bivy, because it's capturing all of your moisture and it's not breathable. So you're going to sweat a lot inside of them potentially. So there are ways to mitigate that, and I'll do that in a separate video also. But some sort of a liner for inside of the bag. You can see that's very compact, and this is going to help provide a moisture barrier between the basically the inside of the Mylar bag and the sweat the condensation that's building up there and your body. So I recommend adding this as well. The good news is that all of this stuff, even though this is all kind of open right now, all of it will fit inside of just one of my pouches. So that's why I can take a pouch off when it's camp time. This comes off, and everything I need to be able to set up camp and sleep is all inside of one pouch, and that'll all fit inside of it. All right, let's talk about your water needs now. So a lot of people that have survival gear for their water needs inside of their bug out bag are going to go to something like a Life Straw, which is a filter that you can drink through out of pond or wherever it is, and you can drink the water straight out of there. Other people might have something that, like Life Straw has its own container, it has a filter inside of it, so you can fill this up with water, and as you drink it, you can just go ahead and you'll have filtered water that way. Other people are just going to store water inside of their bag in bottles and things like that. So there are some disadvantages to a lot of these things. All right, one is that with the Life Straw, you're only going to be able to suck up the water that you have on you or that you come across right there. So I don't recommend actually having like a Life Straw. Same thing with these sort of containers. It's a small container, and I don't really like if you really do put a D ring on it on your bag, it's going to be flopping around. Yeah, you can go ahead and keep that strapped in. That's not a big deal, but it doesn't hold all that much water. You need to carry a lot more water with you. So I don't recommend actually having those either. When it comes to bottled water, I think people really don't understand how much water they're going to go through. If we were doing a 100-mile road march, 25 miles a day with in the military, I can tell you that we averaged 5 gallons of water per soldier per day. 5 gallons of water. You're not going to carry 5 gallons of water on your body. You're going to have to find water along the way. So you're not going to be able to carry it. So here's what I recommend that you do. So I recommend having a bladder. Now, this is a 2-liter water bladder that you can basically just take this off, and you can come up to a duck pond, I don't care what it is, a mud puddle, doesn't matter. As long as there's no solvents or gasoline or anything like that in it, you can basically just scrape the water right into this or dunk it in with a cup or anything. It doesn't matter what goes in here. It's coming through this line and through this filter and out the other end here. So I actually have a place inside of my bag that this has a sleeve that goes in the back, and it comes up right through a special hole in the top of the bag, comes down the waist strap, the shoulder strap, and comes out. So I can actually drink the water along the way. So one, I'm carrying that weight with me on my back. So it's much better than carrying it on my waist or anywhere else. So I'm carrying it on my back, so the load really isn't that much for me. It's getting lighter as I'm going along, and I don't have to fumble around with canteens or anything else. As I'm walking, I can simply take a sip as much as I want. So I recommend having some sort of an inline filter with at least a 2-liter water bag that you have there. The other thing that I will recommend that you have, there's a saying in survival for preppers that say 2 is 1 and 1 is none. That doesn't really apply to all gear out there, but it does apply to things that are going to be the most critical, like your water. Like if you don't have water, you're going to die, right? So this, I do recommend that you have an extra one of these because it doesn't really weigh anything. So I have an extra bag, an extra filter, and an extra line in here as well. So I do carry an extra water bag with me. The other thing that I recommend people have is something that you can use for super hydration. So one of the things that I saw when we were doing extended road marches or when we were in the military was that your BDUs, your camouflage at the end of the day was literally, it was like Arctic camo. It was so white because all of the salt from your body is coming out. and you get these sweat stains that are just like bleached white. So you're losing a lot of electrolytes when you're sweating. So if you actually are in a situation where you have to really hump this thing around, you're going to be sweating a lot because you are carrying that extra weight, especially if you're in a warmer climate. But having these sort of hydration, these are like hydration multipliers, like this one's from Liquid IV. But they have electrolytes in them. Some of them, like this one, also has caffeine in it, so it can kind of keep you going. So I do recommend having these. You don't put it inside of the water bladder. You actually put this in a cup and stir it up because this is going to filter it all out of there, right? So, but having these is going to help you to get the electrolytes that your body needs to be able to continue to go forward. The other thing I will recommend is because you are manufacturing your water needs along the way. So there's a couple important points here. One is that if you get to your bug out bag, you're going to need water right away to have in there. So I do recommend that you have some water, whether that's a case of water where you have your bag, preferably inside of your vehicle, but you're going to have water to start out with. If crisis happens and you're not able to make it back home and you're ready, you have to evacuate right away, you have water, you can put it inside of the bladder that's already inside of the bag, and you're ready to go. So do have some, like at least 2 liters of water that you can use there. Also, if you have that extra bag, you can fill this up with water, put it inside of your bag so you have one to change out also. So you don't have to keep it all stored like that. If water's rare, you want to use it when you can get to it. The other thing is to look for water in your environment. So if you're able to read a map and you have a map with you, you're able to find water in different locations. But also, I recommend that people do have a Silcock key inside of their bug out bag. So a lot of schools, churches, municipal buildings, they'll have faucets on the outside of the building, but because people do steal water, believe it or not, I guess I'm going to show you how to steal water, but basically with this Silcock key, this is like the special key that you use in those faucets that allows you to open up the valve on that. Most people don't have a Silcock key, so it keeps people from stealing water. Unless you're a prepper, and get a Silcock key, and then when you need water, if you do come across a church or a school or something, then you can go and get water from one of the faucets there if the environment is still adaptable to that. Okay, time to talk about food. I see a lot of preppers putting military MREs, meals ready to eat, inside of their bug out bags. I can tell you, even in the military, we didn't like eating MREs, and we would oftentimes bring our own food. But the main problem with it is that they're really heavy. You can strip them down. That's what we did in the military because they were so heavy. We'd take out stuff that we didn't want. But they're better options these days than there ever have been before. So you'll see a lot of people use things like emergency food rations. These are calorie bars. They're like basically condensed calories, okay? And so they give you some fat, some protein, some carbohydrates. This right here, these are a 3,600 calorie bar is what it says. A lot of people think that that's in one bar. There's 9 bars inside of here. And actually, it's 3,600 in the whole thing. So I find these to be pretty heavy. And they kind of taste like cardboard, a lot of them. Some of them will taste all right. They're good for kind of a supplement, but I don't recommend really having them for your food needs. Nowadays, what I recommend you do is, I've done a video before on how ramen noodles, you can put them inside of like a Ziploc bag, and that's what we used to eat out in the field. They're filling, they give you carbohydrates. They're not healthy, I'm not saying that, but they're tasty, right? So, and those packets have lots of sodium in them, so you get your salt intake. But you can also use, survival food these days has come really a long way, and so I recommend actually having some sort of survival food, like a dehydrated or freeze-dried survival food that has a long shelf life, so you can just put it in there and just be done with it. But it also has a lot of calories and it doesn't weigh as much as things like other options that you might have there. So this is from a food company, Realized Food Company, and it's 3,000 calories inside of this one thing. So you can reconstitute with water, and this is going to give you, they're tastier, and having a good meal, I can tell you, I would dream about Big Macs, like McDonald's Big Macs out in the field after eating MREs. So having a good meal really does help with stress levels, and which helps you make better decisions too. So I recommend actually having enough food for 3 days, do a 72-hour bag of some sort of a survival food. You also need something to cook it in, and I recommend having some sort of a cup that you can put on here. This will fit inside of my 8-inch pouch also. In fact, all of this will fit inside of my pouch. So this goes in there. I can use this. And then I like to have a little stove here. So this is just a bug-out stove. Basically opens up, got these little heat tabs in here that kind of like sterno. And I can just whip this out, throw this on top of it, and boil up some water and make grandma's potato soup. Mmm, tasty. So you definitely want to have something that you can cook with as well. I don't recommend having all those gas stoves and things like this. This is all you really need. The other thing I will say is you need to be able to get a spark to the sterno, or if you're going to need to make a fire. So I like to have some sort of a fire kit with several different ways to be able to make fire. I'm not going to go through what those are. That's a whole other video because most people aren't doing that right either. But this is the easiest thing you can do right here, is just to have a lighter. You can wrap some duct tape around it so you have this for utility, for repairs, things like that. But it'll also protect the lighter as well. So lighter, it's simple, right? Just can't beat it. Recommend that. Also, you need something to be able to eat with. I like the K-Bar Spork. There's lots of different hiking, ultra lightweight type utensils that are out there. I like the K-Bar Spork because it is a fork, it is a spoon, but it also has this kind of built-in serrated knife on it, which is actually pretty sturdy. So you can actually cut meat with this, and it's not a bad weapon, actually. Take this in my backpack everywhere I go. So it's a nice little extra little bonus backup that you've got here. Now, a couple of the things I recommend you having when it comes to food is, one, it's going to get, it might be kind of scarce to be able to find food, or maybe if you get yours taken from you by a big bully out on the schoolyard. So food might be scarce, and if so, I recommend that you do have some fiber tablets. You can get these in capsules, but fiber capsules, you can just take them. One, it's going to make you regular. I can tell you, when you're out in the field for a long time in the military, you might go 5-7 days and not have a movement at all, like for a while. So your body just, for some reason, just kind of, whether it's dehydration, but it just kind of says, nope, I'm not letting you go to the bathroom. Well, fiber tablets are going to help you stay more regular out there, and at my age, regularity is becoming more and more of an issue. In addition to that, all right, you want some things that are going to give you quick energy in condensed amounts. So these little like marathon gels that have a long-term sugar in there, a long-burning sugar like maltodextrin in it, these are used for marathoners and bikers. You can get these at sporting goods stores. These are really good to have because they're like instant energy. Some of them do have caffeine in them as well. Just monitor your, how much caffeine you're actually taking. But these are good just to have on standby. It's a gel you just rip off the top, squirt it in your mouth, and it's going to give you some extra energy with some condensed calories there, with some slow burning and some fast burning sugar that's in it. The other thing I recommend people do, if you got a Java Jones like I do, just nothing like a morning cup of coffee, right? And again, there's that whole mental aspect of it. So I recommend that you have some coffee. It's going to give you some caffeine. You can keep the energy up, keep your mood up, but definitely have some packets of instant coffee that you can use as well. You don't even have to, if it's instant coffee, you don't even have to brew it up. We used to make Ranger pudding. You put it inside of like cocoa mix and stir it up with just a little bit of water. It makes a pudding that has some caffeine in it as well. Or you can just take it and just drink it, just put it in your mouth, put some water in it. Anyway, if you want coffee, you got coffee there. All right, so this should take care of your food needs right here. All right, let's go over some utility and some personal items here. So one thing I will go over, it's kind of like in the clothing category, but having either a shemagh or one of these like face gaiters here that can go over your neck. You can wear this in a number of different ways. I actually like the face gaiter. The shemagh you can use, it'll help you kind of, acts as like kind of a mini blanket, but also you can use it for tourniquets, you can use it for a sling. There's a lot you can do with a shemagh, and I do like them. For me, I like to also have this super lightweight face gaiter or neck gaiter, because with my skin, I'm out in the sun, I turn into a chicken McNugget like in 12 seconds. So I need something, this is SPF 50, and this allows me to keep, if I don't have sunscreen, it'll allow me, I can put it around my face, I can put it around my neck, I can protect myself from the sun so that I don't get, I don't burn into a chicken McNugget. So I like to have those. You also need to be able to know where it is that you're going. So yes, I do recommend that you have a topographical map. Well, first you need to know where you're going. And then you need to have a topographical map of your area, of where you're going, or on the way to get there. Whole other topic about how you choose where you're going. But topographical maps will show you elevation. Will also show you areas where there are civilization. But what I like it for is it's going to show you water resources. Even if it doesn't show up as water there, you can see where there are areas. If you can read the terrain, you can see where the low-lying areas are. you can check out the elevation and find water much easier with using a topographical map, right? So this is going to help you out a lot, but I also recommend that you have, out of an atlas, you have the road map that is going to get you to where you're going to go. So your goal is not to be wandering the wasteland with your nail-studded baseball bat and your bug-out bag. You want to be inside of your Mad Max mobile, and for you to be able to get to your Plan B retreat, you've got to have a map to where it is that you're going. So I recommend that you actually take them out. There are maps now that are they're basically waterproof. You can also have them laminated, but you always want to have that. So even if you find yourself in a location where basically where you were, you can get to maybe a highway, or you can get to a town, you can look at a water tower, you can see the name of the town on the water tower, and then you can find yourself on the map here, okay? So that's not necessarily going to be in, some of the information you're going to find on here is not necessarily going to be on your topographical maps. You need something that's going to branch out from there that you can use inside of your vehicle. You can fold this up and carry with you in your bag, okay? So that's another thing that I recommend you having. Utility-wise, some wet ones. You can use these to be able to keep yourself fresh, rather than taking a shower out there. You can use these as toilet paper. You just put a small pack of this in. They really don't weigh anything. It's just good to have. I don't recommend that you have anything that has fragrance in it. Get something without fragrance and without alcohol necessarily, because you don't want to smell like the clean one in a crowd of really scumbags that haven't showered in like a couple of weeks, right? So you don't that's just going to draw attention to you. So you want to have something that is not going to smell really nice and pretty. Some other things that I've found very useful is a lot of people's shoes, you'll start to get the sole that'll come off of it, and it really sucks trying to duct tape your hiking boot together. I can tell you from experience it doesn't work. It wears off after a while. So a little tube of shoe goo works really well for being able to repair anything that is like a sole. There's lots of little things you can use different goos for, and shoe goo is one of the things that I like to keep with me here. So I like to have a little tube of that in there. As I've said before, there are times that you want to be found, and there are times that you not want to be found. When you don't want to be found, well, first of all, you need some sort of a light. Now, we did not really use flashlights a lot out in the field, but we had a readily supply of chem lights. I don't recommend that you really carry a bunch of chem lights because they're kind of one and done, right? But when you do have a flashlight, now the LED ones can give you much brighter light, but I recommend that you have one that is red. So it doesn't destroy your night vision, and also it doesn't travel as far out there. So if you want to stay hidden, it's not going to be picked up by other people out there. I also recommend that you get used to walking around at night without any sort of light at all. Typically, we didn't use one out in the field or out on mission, so because we don't want the enemy to be able to spot us there. So we got used to being able to see better at night. But to find certain gear, you're going to need a light. I recommend one that will clip onto the bill of your hat, so having like a baseball cap with you, and it has just a clip on here, and then you can basically just turn it on, but have a red LED option on there so that you can use it without being spotted and destroying your night vision. So some other things I recommend are, again, there are times where even when you didn't want to be found, that you get an injury that really does require emergency medical attention. You could have a fracture, something where you really do need to be found, because that's going to be a safer option than not being found out there. So I do recommend having a little flare. These are just little pop flares. You can get these at a Cabela's or Bass Pro. And then there's also these smoke grenades. You basically just light these things and they'll put orange air up in the way. Now you can also use these for signaling, for aircraft, gaining attention. You can use it for signaling other members of your party. There's a lot you can do with smoke, right? But the point is that sometimes you do want to be found, and you should have the ability to do that if it means saving somebody's life. When it comes to power, I do recommend that you have a solar charger. So that could be for your phone, so that if the power lines are up, if the cell lines are up, you can actually get help if you need to, or communicate with other people, even if that's long, far away family members that need to know that you're safe. So I like at least the quad solar panel on this. This one comes from Survival Frog, and you basically just open this up. It's also magnetic, so I can put it on a vehicle or something and just get the sun. I can strap it to the back of my bug-out bag and just catch the sun while I'm walking along. And it'll store the power inside of the battery here, and then I can plug my phone in there or other devices that I might need some power for. So I do recommend having one of those. Also for utility, a lot of people will put 550 cord inside of their bag. You don't need all that much, and now they make micro cords, so I'm not a huge fan. I do like 550 cord. It definitely has its purposes. You don't need to carry a big old giant roll with you for it, but there are some other options. So there is like a micro cord that is much thinner, but it's I think it has a Kevlar filament in it, so it's really, really strong, a lot less lightweight, and you can get a lot out of it. But one thing that I found really useful is just to carry some dental floss with you. You get some really strong, like it's kind of the cheap stuff, but it's really strong, like it doesn't break very easily. And you can get, I think they make 100-yard ones. This is a 50 yards of it. And this is strong enough to use for trip lines, for detection. You can use it for putting up a shelter. You can actually make bowstring out of it. Like there's a lot you can do with dental floss. So throwing 100 yards or 50 yards or so inside of your pack doesn't weigh anything, and it's going to help you out a lot. One of the things I also recommend having is the ability to be able to see long distances. So this is a high power monocular. They don't cost hardly anything. They're not all that great. It's not like having a really expensive pair of binoculars, but if I want to be able to check out an area, if I'm going maybe like an urban area and I want to see what the temperature is like over there, personnel wise, or what's going on there, I'm going to want to see it from a distance, as far away as I possibly can. So this little lightweight monocular works really well. I like this thing a lot. You also want to have some sort of communication. So I like to have an AM radio that if I can get the news on there so I can find out maybe what's happening around the country or around my area. What is it like in certain areas? So having this little digital AM radio, and again, this I can charge with my solar power charger. Just plug that thing in, and this allows me to get AM radio out there, just kind of catch up on the news and find out what's going on civilly around me. There are some areas that I should avoid. There's also a little earpiece that goes with it so I don't make a lot of noise out there. And I also do recommend that you have communications of some kind. So most likely you're not going to be going out alone. I don't recommend going out alone if you're in a survival situation. So I do recommend that if you are evacuating, you are with family members, and you shouldn't be evacuating all like in the same vehicle. If you can take two vehicles, there's good reasons for that. Another video, right? But you do want to have communication with people in your party as much as possible. So I like just having a really good two-way radio that you can use. This one also has like a whisper mode, so I can have this on my earpiece. It's got a little microphone there, so I can whisper. They can pick it up on the line. You don't have to have that all the time on the outside so that people pick up the radio. But you definitely want to have communication in between vehicles, and cell phones might not be an option for you. So having something like this, people can even go out if they're scavenging for other things where you've set up camp or anything. You want to have communication with people at all times. So I do recommend that you have two-way radios in everybody's bag. You also want to have some sort of a knife on you that you can cut things. Now there are a lot of different options. There are survival knives out there. What I've found over the years is that, one, having a multi-tool is kind of really necessary. I really like the SOG mini tool. This has got a lever assist on it, so it has like extra leverage to it, so I can cut through barbed wire, chain link fences if I need to be able to access a certain area that's maybe has a fence around it. I want to be able to use that, plus it also has a whole bunch of other gadgets and gizmos on here that I might be able to use in a situation. Has like spring assisted other types of knives that are on here and saws. So I do like the SOG multi-tool. There's a lot of different ones out there. Leatherman has one, so you find one that works for you. But I do recommend having this mini tool. When it comes to survival knives, rather than having a big knife, I have found that a machete is like the most versatile tool that I can have out there. I can use this for pounding. I can use anything I can do with a knife, I can do with my machete. And mine is heavier than most machetes are. I've got a glass breaker on it. It is basically, you can use it for chopping wood, making a shelter. Again, I can use this for skinning a deer if I need to. I can use anything I can do with a knife, I can do with a machete, but I can get more use out of the machete. Now, for little tasks, I do recommend having some sort of a little knife. So I either bring a razor with me, or I've got this little fixed blade knife that I just carry on it's a Molle compatible little sheath, Kydex sheath that I've got, but that I just whip out, cut through some 550 cord, and I'm good to go. The other thing that I'll bring up has to do with personal items. And this is really going to depend upon what you need. So if you have, let's say that you have glasses, I do recommend, if you wear glasses, that you have some sort of prescription goggles, like sports goggles, that you can wear. Because if you break your glasses out there and you're wandering around like you're Velma on Scooby-Doo looking around for your peepers, that's not going to really cut it very well for you, right? So if you can get some prescription goggles like you use for basketball or other sports, you want to have those available because they're impact resistant. You'll be sure that you can actually see out there, and you're definitely going to want to add those. So these are all things that are specific to you. And again, I'm not going to talk about medical, but things like prescription medicines are something that's relatively obvious that you should have and be stockpiled on. But there's some other things that people don't think about. So if you have any women of childbearing age in your party, don't know what resources are going to be like for tampons, feminine hygiene products, shall we say. So a Diva cup is one of those things that if you have somebody in your party that gets their period, having a Diva cup is going to be one of those things that's going to come in really, really helpful there. Sorry guys, I know there's the ick factor, but get over it. Anybody that's been married is going to know what I'm talking about here. So that's going to work out really well for you. So definitely want to have that. You also want to bring along with you your personal items, your personal papers. So it might be like the mortgage to your house, titles, deeds, things that you're going to need, your birth certificate, things that you're going to need for identification. You can put all of that on either a thumb drive or onto an SD card that you can carry around with you. So if you do come up and you need that for anything, it can go inside of a computer. You can pull up those files there. I also recommend that you have photos of your loved ones or people that let's say you get separated from somebody or it's a disaster and you don't know if somebody's alive or not or they're lost and you're trying to find them. That's an incredibly stressful thing. Well, trying to do a pencil sketch of your loved one is not going to be all that effective. Having photos on either a thumb drive, USB thumb drive, or an SD card is going to work really well. But what if there's no power? What if there is no laptops? What if there's no anything? You want to have actual photos of your loved ones and something that's waterproof so that if you do come across something and you're trying to describe, hey, have you seen my wife? Have you seen my kids? And they're like, well, what do they look like? And you're trying to describe them and you don't have a laptop with you or your phone isn't working, you can break out pictures of them right there. And that way you have a much better chance of finding a loved one if you have real photos of them as well. All right, so we have to talk about security because from my experience, when it's ever a situation where it's a true crisis, and we're talking an SHTF event, the biggest threat that you have isn't always the disaster itself or the crisis, it's other people, even everyday Joes that are out there that are without food or water or they need other resources, and here you are with all of your resources. So other people can be kind of a threat sometimes. So you definitely need to keep your preps to yourself. Of course, there's OPSEC and things like that, but you need a way to protect yourself if you are ever in a situation where people do end up getting a little upset that you're not giving up some of your stuff. As I always say, like, people are going to ask you for things they're going to need for resources, and asking turns to begging, begging turns to demanding, and demanding turns to taking, potentially by force. So you need a way to protect yourself and those that you love. So how you do that is really going to be another one of those things where it's really up to you. Of course, I like the great equalizer, having some sort of a firearm. I'm not going to go into the firearms that you might want to consider for an evacuation scenario. I know a lot of guys just want to go walking down Main Street with their Bugout bag and their AR-15. There are better ways to do it. There are sneakier ways to do it. But having some sort of a firearm is real, and that you can access very easily is, for me, a personal choice that I make, all right? So I recommend having a firearm. What's the next best thing is going to be a knife. What's the best knife that I have is a machete. Very intimidating. You basically are holding a short sword, but it's legal because it is a landscaping tool. So you can find this in a lot of different areas. I go to Mexico, and the first thing I do is go down into the local hardware store and get a machete. Usually anywhere I ever travel in the world, I can go into a hardware store and get a machete somewhere. So I do recommend this also as a self-defense weapon if it's needed. So machete, again, scores high up on my list there. But not everything requires you to have to lop off some zombie's head. So you do need some sort of a less than lethal or a non-lethal way to get people away from you. Because, you know, Uncle Joe, who hasn't, you know, didn't bring enough MREs with him and wants yours, you don't necessarily want to take off a limb. But having some sort of like a stun gun that you can get people away from you. If they're trying to get inside of your vehicle, they're trying to get their hands in to grab stuff, you just zap them, and that's going to really kind of, it's going to change their day a little bit, all right? So having something that is non-lethal can be a big benefit for you. There is going to be rule of law at some point. We can't all just wear mohawks and ride around in Mad Max mobiles. Now, I do recommend, I think that the best security that you have is just when it's a security situation where you don't want to be found, is that you need to stay away from other people. But you need to know when people are coming around. So this is where I recommend you have some sort of thing that does allow you to sleep better at night, where you have a trip line. So I might have tripwire with me, or again, you can just use some dental floss. But I can put this around my AO, have this up near where my area is, my campsite, or right near where my ear is, where I'm sleeping, and a bear bell. This is a bear bell you can get at Walmart or online, but it's a bear bell. So it actually has a magnet on it that it'll keep it from jingling around as you're walking around. So well, it doesn't work very well, but nonetheless. So a bear bell, or something else that I like is to have these little personal alarms here. So these work really well for everyday carry for personal protection. But what I like about them also is that I can have a few of these set up. They don't weigh anything. They don't take up much room. But I can have this duct taped to a limb or a tree somewhere. I can have an actual trip line out there with just duct tape. I'm sorry, with dental floss. And it's tied to this right here. So I can put this on the tree, and then all of a sudden, this, when they click it, that comes out. And I can also hear where that's coming from. So now I know where somebody is coming in. Hopefully it's not a raccoon. Well, I'd rather it be a raccoon than, you know, Mad Max, right? So anyway, having some sort of perimeter alarm system, I find to be, I just relied on it in combat and out in the field. So I recommend having something that you can detect somebody as well. Okay, so this covers all of the essentials that I think you should have inside of your bug-out bag. But again, it's all relevant to what you see as necessary for you. Again, all of that stuff together inside of my bag is only going to be 16 pounds. So it's not that heavy for anybody to be able to carry with them. That includes all the other medical gear that I haven't told you about. But I want to hear from you. So I'm looking for better ideas for survival gear. So go ahead and leave a comment down below the video, or go over to warriorlifetips.com and go ahead and submit it there. Again, if I use your tip, I will give you full credit for it and say, hey, I used to use this, now I use this. And if we use that, I'll reach out to you and we'll send you out a thank you gift. So I'm just looking to protect myself and my family the best that I can. Your advice helps me do that as well. So hopefully you got something out of this list. Until our next video, this is Jeff Anderson from warriorlife.com saying prepare, train, and survive.